Hi, everybody. Yay, we're live. My name
Hey,
is Ken McLaughlin. I am the artistic director for Stages, and we're thrilled to have you here for our community talkback on what is officially, I guess, closing night of Holiday at the Hopes, which has been streaming since December 1st. I cannot believe it's December 13th already, but we are here. I'm sure some of you have had the opportunity to hear this amazing program throughout the past 13 days. If you haven't, you have a few more hours left tonight, so you're going to learn a little bit about it tonight from the stars and the creators. We want this to be a conversation, not only about the creation of this play, but about the wonderful artists that we've been working with at Stages here that are with us tonight. And so I'm gonna ask some questions and do that, but we would love for you also to just be a part of this conversation and chat your questions. We want to get to all of them in the next 45 minutes or so that we are together. So please feel free to put some questions in the chat. And they will get filtered to me by the incredible crew who is not seen on the screen, Mandy, Dominique, and Greg, who are doing our backup work. So go ahead and chat away while we're chatting, and we'll just kind of have a giant conversation. And we're going to have a giant conversation with three of the most amazing people. I adore them so very much. Coming to us from, I believe, Connecticut, the amazing TikTok sensation and amazing musician. We just learned about the TikTok sensation, and we're going to get back to that.
Oh, no.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Morgan Morris.
yeah.
Hello. Bienvenidos.
Coming to us, and his TikTok numbers just went up. Coming to us from magnificent Sparta, New Jersey, in front of the soon-to-be fully decorated tree, awaiting the return of her husband, Miss Katie Barton Hope. And coming to us from, I think, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Mr. Ben Hope.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for
in
having me.
Sioux Falls, I'm having just played with the orchestra there. So artists on the road, gathering from around the country. One of the incredible things of this time in our lives is that we found ways to gather together as larger communities through this incredible technology. So we're really, really glad to be able to do that with you all. So we're going to start. Let's get to know our guests a little bit, okay? And we're going to start with Morgan actually tonight, a little bit, and asking Morgan to say, Morgan, tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, I know you. Of course, through Ring of Fire, our audiences would have known you having come to Stages through Ring of Fire. And we'll talk a little bit about how that happened in a minute. But let's wind the clock back a little bit further, especially for your 2.5 million TikTok fans, who to find out a little bit more about you. Let's build your brand, Morgan. Where'd you grow up, and what's your background?
Well, first of all, I like long walks on the beach. And no, let's see. Well, on the day I was born, I'm from Connecticut. I'm from here in Connecticut. Grew up here. I like to say that I'm from Maine as well, because I used to spend my summers there. Mainers unite. And I grew up with an actor dad and a orchestra teacher mom, so it was, preordained in my destiny that I would, it would have been more of a rebellion if I'd become like an accountant or something. So I was homeschooled, and then I ended up going to community college. And then after I graduated community college, I auditioned for a show called Stand By Your Man, the Tammy Wynette story at the Ivoryton Playhouse in Connecticut, which I actually knew because my dad had worked there. And that's where I met Ben and Katie. And then immediately after that, I went to college in Vermont. And then right after I graduated, I started doing shows with Ben and Katie and all these wonderful actor musician folks. And I've been doing that kind of stuff ever since, until, this year, but haven't we all?
So Morgan, did you? So it's so interesting. You don't always get the story of actors whose parents were actors. You get a lot of stories of protective parents, or sometimes even parents who try to put you in a different direction. So you have actor parents, you have artist parents. They know what this life is like. They know how hard it is. Did they ever sit you down and say, Did they vet your choice out the way that, for example, my parents did, like every hour of every day asking me if I really wanted to make this choice? How do artist parents vet out their artist child?
No, it's true. It's true. I was very lucky. I think they always they had a lot of faith in me, and they were just like very encouraged. You know, they would have been just as support. Like my brother's at Columbia doing a PhD in philosophy, so like totally different kind of thing, and totally supportive of him. So they would have been supportive of me. I'm very grateful for them. I'm living with them at the moment, so I'm grateful for that. So yeah, they were very lovely. But yeah, I mean, my dad absolutely. I mean, I got to see firsthand him, because he sort of took a break for a while to raise us, but he would still do jobs and stuff every now and then. So I sort of got to see things from the inside, which was very cool.
And was this always like, was this the calling? Was music the calling? Was acting the calling? Like what was it all? Like how did you get to here?
That's a wonderful question, Ken. And I don't know that I fully answered it yet at this point in my life. The answer is yes, all of it, in unfortunately equal amounts. You know, it would be a lot. I'm sure that Ben and Katie can relate it to this too, where it's like, it would be easier if you could just go, just this thing. But, you know, we have this love for all different types of stuff. And that's one of the things that I love about Ben and Kitty, actually, is just like how wide ranging their influences and inspirations are. And I feel much the same way, where it's just like, I want to do a little bit of everything, and go wherever I can and experience whatever I can. And this kind of life is perfect for that. So as long as I can keep doing it.
Yes, indeedy. Well, we want you to keep doing it. That's for sure. And the world, clearly, the world wants you to keep doing it. At least 2.5 million people want you to do that.
I think the word,
again, we'll explain later.
I think the word in German is "get some Kunstwerk," which is like all of the disciplines of art kind of crammed onto stage at one time. And that's
really?
That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great term.
So you guys get to wind back your clock. Katie, you get to go. Like
Oh, okay.
Growing up, always wanted to be a singer, always wanted to be an artist, or like what, like how that evolved.
How did that evolve? I danced since I was very little, like 3 years old. Dance. I loved tap. I loved jazz class. You know, I was a dancer. But I also played sports. I was a real tomboy. I still have my ears pierced, to my mother's chagrin. But I remember the day, I guess I was in middle school, or maybe I was about to start middle school. And my mom came to me and was like, look, your schedule is too crazy. We can't do it all. You can't play softball and basketball and run cross country and go to dance 3 or 4 days a week, an hour away. You know, like, you just can't do all of this. You have to decide where your preference is. You're like, what are you more passionate about? And it was such a hard decision, but I chose dance. And I mean, I still played some sports, but I put more focus into dance. And then Ben was talking the other day when we had a chat about his high school drama educator, his theater educator, and mine was Pam Ware in Gainesville, Georgia. She ran a theater department at a public school that was just incredible. I mean, we did 8 shows a year. 8 shows and 4 musicals every year, plus a 1 act for the like state competition and everything. I mean, she's really incredible. And then she also ran the community theater, like the Parks and Recreation community theater in the summers, and just a really, really special person. And her influence, I mean, she's the one that encouraged me to be a musical theater major in college. She helped me find my school and audition for scholarships. And, you know, she was a real mentor. And I mean, I definitely wouldn't be where I am without her guidance there early on, and her confidence in me. You know, like, I never would have ever, you know, it was always such a challenge because I'm a huge introvert, and she really encouraged me to keep moving forward, and, you know, in the theater, even though she didn't do that with everyone. You know, she could recognize, oh, this person is meant for something else, but they will get a lot from a theater education here in high school. You know, learn how to communicate well, listen well, build a set, whatever, things that you can benefit from, even if you don't go into the arts later in life. But I don't know, she just really pushed me. So then I went to college and majored in musical theater, and here we are.
An hour out of college, Katie is here today.
Katie graduated yesterday.
I love
college.
I love just take that moment always to shout out to the teachers who influence us.
Absolutely.
And it's one of those things that every artist that you ever encounter will tell you that. Like, they will tell you that there was a teacher, we all have them, who at one point in time said to you, and sometimes there's many, but along the way you could point to the one who said at one point in time just said that thing to you that was, I love that you said that, Katie, that they recognize in you something unique about your connection to the theater, and they know how to play that button, in a different way than they're doing with other students. And a great teacher is, like you said, really doing that. So shout out to all the teachers out there.
Mm-hmm.
We love you, and thank you for making it possible for us. And Ben, you grew up around music. Like, you grew up, what was your first instrument, and when did you start playing it?
My parents were very brave and bought me a drum set when I was 6. I don't know how I convinced them to do that, but they did, and they put it in the basement, and I would go down there and play it for hours at a time, just making a bunch of racket. And then my dad played the bass, and my brother would play the guitar. Sometimes they would swap, and we would play Runaway Train together for hours at a time. And that was how I cut my teeth on Runaway Train, basically. That's what happened. And I saw Garth Brooks when I was in 3rd grade. He came through Birmingham on the Fresh Horses tour, which was a great Garth Brooks album. And he came through town, and at the very opening of that concert, the lights all went down, which there was a big empty space all of a sudden. The lights went down, and a spotlight came up on a white grand piano there in the corner of the stage, and everybody went crazy because he was there in a white tuxedo with a white cowboy hat and started playing the dance. Everybody just went crazy. And then about a quarter of the way into that song, the top of the piano opened up, and Garth Brooks, he flew out of the center of it and around the space. And my little 8-year-old brain couldn't handle the magic, and I was like, I will do anything to be a musician. That's the coolest thing I could imagine a thing be. And so that was it for me. I was like, I'm going to be an entertainer. That rules.
Okay, wait, was it because you wanted to fly, or was it?
No, it was because it touched my past souls. You know what I mean? It just reverberated through a million lifetimes. I was like, whoa, there is magic to be made. And yeah, that was it. That was it for me.
So wait, now I just have to investigate just one more second. Was it a real piano then, or was it it was all set up for this giant stunt?
It was all a setup. The guy that you thought was Garth Brooks, because his back was kind of to you, he was playing the piano, wasn't Garth Brooks at all. He was in the piano and flew out of the center of it, and it blew my mind. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, what a great entrance! What a great entrance! And
yeah.
So Ben, you also had you spoke of you were influenced by a really important teacher, and when school followed this path, and then you get to Flat Rock Playhouse. Quick little story here of how the two of you met.
Kate and I were apprentices at the Flat Rock Playhouse in 2005, and then again in 2006. But we met in 2005. And we were certain, because Katie was going to school in my hometown of Birmingham, Alabama, but I had left to go to college in Orlando. We were certain that we knew each other somehow, that her name was really familiar, her face was really familiar. And so when we met, we were like, we know each other. I know you. And it was the beginning of our friendship. And we spent the summer doing what summer stock apprentices do, which is basically everything, everything you can imagine, building the sets and being in the chorus of the musicals and doing the children's show at the other venue. And
but we never figured out how we would have known each other. We still to this day have we hadn't met before. I don't know. There's just something familiar. We were just like, I know you, but we didn't.
That old soul thing.
Yeah.
But Kate didn't. I do believe there was a statement made during a coffee.
Yeah. One morning. I mean, as an apprentice, you keep very long hours, and you're up early, and up late, and it's really tiring. So coffee is a must. But one morning I made him a cup of coffee. We were standing in the green room of the theater, about to do a strike, and then a rebuild of new for a new show, and so I poured him a cup of coffee and brought it over to him, and he said, "Oh, I'm gonna marry you someday." And we were just friends. We were just friends. Turns out,
I'm a man of my word.
Turns out it all comes true.
Yeah.
People are sending us questions. They're jumping ahead. All right, well, we'll just take the questions. Someone is asking, did you discover so we'll tie this together. Ben and Katie start working all over the country. We are very blessed here in Houston to get them for the first time in 2011 with Hank Williams' Lost Highway. Then we have a little bit of a hiatus during that period in time. They're going around the country. Ben is on Broadway. We're like, we'll never get them back. But then fortunately we did with Woody Says. 20, that was Harvey year. So that was 20, I blocked it out of my mind.
17
maybe.
17.
And then Ring of Fire, which was 2019, right? That was 2019. So 18, Harvey was 18 then. But we began conversations like when Ben and Katie came back for Ring of Fire, the conversation really was, okay, what else are we going to do? It's like making sure they don't go anywhere else again. We missed them too much. But we started conversations even at that time about things. The first iteration of that conversation led us towards something called Nashville Jukebox Live that Ben and Katie were creating. And in fact, we still have hopes that we will one day see that show in Houston as well. But a live jukebox, incredible show that because of COVID, morphed, changed, transferred, and ultimately became the incredible gift that is Holiday at the Hopes. So we journeyed through this thing, and you all have been on a journey. There's a question here about, did you discover anything new during COVID and the creating of this program?
Yeah.
The three of you. Go ahead, Katie.
I mean, yes. Did we discover anything new? I mean, I think we discovered a lot about, for Ben and I, about our relationship and how we work together. We discover, I mean, recording like we did is a completely new thing for us. I mean, Ben has been in the studio and recorded an album or two before, but he was never the sound engineer, and I had never really officially been in the studio before, and done any recording, and I had certainly never worked on sound effects before. That was all brand spanking new, so we were learning on the job a bit. I mean, we had done a little self-recording before, just playing around and trying some different things, but not on this scale. And so we learned a lot from that. And I think, being basically quarantined all year and losing every job we had booked except for this one and the one Ben is doing in South Dakota, I think we learned a lot about how we actually feel about the theater, what's important to us about it, how much we value live performance, and truly miss it, how important it is. I think especially now when so much of our interactions are like this on a screen, it I think has, at least for me, and I think Ben would agree, it's really made it so clear how important keeping live theater alive is. We need interaction like that. We need that, all of us, not just actors and musicians, like everyone, audience members, backstage folks, everyone, we need that interaction. I think it's really important that we engage with each other that way. And I think Ben and I have really started to see that is where our true passion is for live performance. And while we really enjoyed making this recording, we really did, and we discovered some new things that I'm sure will continue. like maybe we'll try some voiceover stuff that we've never done before and things like that. I mean, that would be really cool and just expand our toolbox a bit. But that live performance is really important to us. It's really important.
What was your favorite? This is for all three. Well, maybe all three get to answer. What was your favorite song or performance that you did on the Holiday and the Hope show? Mark, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Ben. And then we'll
me.
Yeah,
me. I think I have two answers because one would be the Visit from Saint Nick that we did, because they very wonderfully gave me the opportunity to write and sort of arrange, orchestrate a backing for that, an instrumental backing for Katie reading this wonderful poem. And that was really cool because I've done some stuff like that in the past, but it's been a while. So it was a really great opportunity to get back into that kind of writing. But also, as far as just like pure joy in recording and just sort of having fun. Oh my God. I mean, all of it really is the answer. But I really had a lot of fun doing the version of Rudolph that we did, because it was just such like a rock and bluegrass version. And I was able to really rock out on mandolin in a way that I haven't been able to do in a while, and try some new things. So that's fun.
Ben, what was your favorite?
Oh, it's so hard to pick. Whatever gets me to the next one really is the, it's whatever one you're currently doing is the one that. No, I think, and Katie and I probably have a lot of similar tastes that way. So I feel like "Love Is Christmas," the Sarah Bareilles song, is just a really special composition. I think she really put hit the nail on the head with kind of what we find to be very special about the season, and what we hope, particularly in a year like this when there's been a lot of division and a lot of like hardship, and everybody has been going through such a difficult time. The sentiment of that song, I think, is really important for a year like this, that we should take a moment, all of us, to just consider being kind and loving to one another, and really take the moment that the season offers us to just, be sweet, love each other. It's the real goal. So I think I would kind of have to say that one if I'm put to choose. I think I have to say that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's and the way you guys used it in the show is so beautifully, to put it as the climax of the show, and the way it's arranged and the way you sing it. It's just the way Katie just opens it up. It's just beautiful. And that's one of your Olivia songs, Katie, by the way. I for those of you out there who are Olivia fans, Olivia Newton-John fans, I'm telling you, go back and listen to some of those recordings. She sounds like
Katie asked me the other day.
Right when Olivia took off too, like listen to the recordings around 74. Like it's like boom, boom, there it is. Anyway, Katie, but I digress. Katie, what's your favorite?
I mean, I agree with Ben. I love "Love Is Christmas." I love that song. I love a lot of these songs, though. I love Christmas music. But I would say, in the course of writing this and recording all of it and everything, there were a lot of frustrations. Anyone who's been quarantined with their significant other knows that this is a challenging year. And working on a project like this, there's a lot of frustrations with each other, and a lot of like, we need 10 minutes apart. But there's something about that Bo Asbestos song, the Brazilian song that we do in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And if we were having a don't talk to me moment, if we played or listened to that song, it was gone. That just a really special, the groove of that song, and I think we both just really loved playing it. It was the first one we always wanted to practice. I think we really loved that song.
Well, how long from the time you got the studio set, you moved on September 1st, right? Was that right? Or something, like you're moving, all this other stuff's happening, right? You've got a deadline. I'm on the phone constantly nagging you, and that's not true. I didn't do it.
No.
But how long from the time you actually push the record button for the first time till you were in mix? Until you sent it off to be mixed. What was your recording window?
We recorded the script. Was the first thing that we recorded, so that we knew kind of how to make the intros and outros of the songs fit into the evening, and then got into work on putting down some scratch tracks that we could send the musicians like Morgan and our friend Kendra Joe, who played the fiddle, Eric Anthony, who plays the guitar and the banjo in the show, both phenomenal musicians. And we were really lucky to have them on the recording as well. So we send out scratch tracks to those guys, and they import that scratch track into their digital audio workstation. And once they lay their stuff down, they can send us their tracks back. We can compile it all together, and then we make the final versions of our guitar, bass, and vocal tracks. Then we listen to the script and we're like, this is terrible. So then we re-recorded the script and then compiled everything together after that, edited things all the way through and sent it out to our amazing engineer, Sammy Olhausen, who mixed and mastered the piece for us. And then we kind of back and forth with him a little bit because we were like, oh, there's a little too much reverb, or this feels a little compressed. Can we dial this in, dial this out? And after several back and forths, we arrived at the final product. So it took, I would say, 2 months in total, almost to the day, really, of like all of September, all of October, and then some change. Then after we got into November, it was mostly just mixing and rearranging the pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It just came out so beautifully. It just really came out so well. And considering the conversations that got you guys there, but like I being a part of those conversations was invigorating. And I remember when this script delivered and you guys came up with the conceit of this recording, it was just really, I think you hit on a way into the story that became so unique and personal to you guys, and it gave it such an intimacy, like such an amplified intimacy. That was really, and I really, what I was so excited about when it delivered was how it really calls upon you to lean in. Like it really, it does feel like theater that way to a certain extent. It really has a lean in quality because it's so personal.
I can tell you from our point of view, Ken, that's what we love about working at Stages, is the intimate space that you guys have. And now we're dying to work in those new spaces that you've got, because we are used to the old spaces, but we loved like the space that we did Ring of Fire in was one of our favorite productions, because that intimacy is something that we enjoy working inside. And it's obviously something that your audiences enjoy. And so when we decided to kind of move forward with the idea of the piece becoming a radio piece, something that would be ultimately kind of like as intimate as it can get, we knew that would be the right direction to take for your audience. And so then it actually became a pretty easy decision to then make the focus of the show kind of a interpersonal relationship story, because that would be the thing that we could do the most genuinely in that kind of close, intimate setting.
It's great, and it really transferred. It's one of those things that, as you were talking, Katie, it's like there's such different skills you're using to communicate into a microphone, right? And to recognize that you're sending this out, and the way in which it has to technically be created to go to have the impact. A lot of those questions. When you're an actor, you're controlling all of that, right? You learn and train how to control all of that stuff. So you're doing that thing. Whereas when you're doing it this way, there's a lot more, you're shifting over to a technical side of your brain or to a technician to do all of that. And I think you guys kind of killed that. I just want to celebrate that. I've got 3 really great questions stacked up. One is, I promise I've got all 3 of them because I know the question number 3 is really dying for that answer. So I'm going to go on first, which is, you guys can see them. What's your history with Christmas in Killarney? What's the history what's your history with that song?
Well, we went to Ireland. We have some travel buddies, and we just love to, when we're in between jobs, if we can swing it, then we try to book a trip with them and just go somewhere that we've never been before, the 4 of us. And it's usually a very last minute thing. It's just a text message conversation. It's like, you guys want to go to Scotland or you guys want to go to Ireland? It's like, yes, okay, book it now, book it. And gets on.
They did text us one morning at like 9. We're like, we're thinking about maybe Ireland, and we were like, whoa, Ireland could be cool. And by noon, we had a trip.
Oh yeah. And so we went a couple of years back, I guess. Gosh, a couple of years. Right around Christmas time. To Ireland. We did Galway, and then we took a train across Ireland and spent some time in Dublin, and then went over to Edinburgh and a couple of small towns north of Edinburgh in Scotland. And it was just such a great trip. And Ben's family ancestry is from Ireland, and so we just felt like we had to include Killarney. I mean, it's just such along with it just matching the sentiment of the show, the lyrics match the sentiment of the show so perfectly. And I don't know, Ben, what do you?
Yeah, we do talk about it in the show. When we travel now, I always try to put together like a mix of the music from the places we go. Like when we went to Italy, I put together this really fun mix of just like classic Italian kind of like rock and pop from the 50s and 60s and 70s, like just to get a feel of like I'll like Google like who's the most popular folk singer in Italy, and then I'll put together a little like just a compilation of their stuff, because we always like to drive if we can in a new place, and it's nothing's better than like driving through like the middle of Italy listening to just like an amazing Italian folk singer sing popular songs. And so in Ireland, we also compile a set list of just like fun Irish tunes that we love or discover some new things. And I think Killarney was one of those that we just fell in love with. And it really matched the idea, particularly this year, again, of what we wanted to create kind of for people's experience, because it's obviously the thing that we're all missing, is this idea of the whole room coming together to make this kind of music, and just the idea that we'll be with the people that we love and have all these great times. That song really came to represent that for us in the show.
Yeah. And the trad session that we talk about in the show, trad session is like a traditional, like a hootenanny basically, of people getting together and playing traditional music. And so we went, of course, and heard anytime we could in Ireland. We went to try to hear Irish folks sitting around playing their Irish music, and it was great. I mean, it's usually a group of old fellas sitting around playing songs they've been playing for 30 years. It's great. Yeah. It's so fun. And one in particular that we kind of mentioned is we went to this place where they had 2 floors, and on each floor they had a different band, and it would change out every hour. And it was so packed. It was so packed with people, you could hardly walk through the place. And it's not like there's a stage and lights and stuff. They're just up in the front of the room, and it's very seemingly low key, but it's just packed with people and everyone's singing along, and it's just so. It's just something that you can't even imagine happening now, and I'm such a happy memory of that trip, and now like I value it so much more because we can't do it.
It's like, and you think about like just when you said that, that's the thing that keep hitting us during these COVID times, like these things that we're missing, like this sense of community, and when we finally all get to get back together again, how wonderful that's going to be. I have to say, I love the way you guys sing Killarney. I just because you're so used to the Bing Crosby version, right? You just hear it so many times, so to actually hear those lyrics sung.
Yeah.
I know you talked about taking the tempo in that one, but I thought you nailed the tempo in that. I thought that was just a beautiful, I love the playing of that song in the show. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
You are such splendid artists, ! I love your work.
Oh, that was very nice.
It touched me so much. I saw a Ring of Fire opening night on Broadway, and your revision was remarkable. How did that come about?
What an excellent question. We were lucky enough down in Houston to have Eric Anthony with us in that show, who also plays in Holiday at the Hopes, and he was in that original production of Ring of Fire. So you're more familiar with Eric than we are. We I first did a production of Ring of Fire back in 2000, and it was with David Lutkin, who wrote Woody Says, interestingly enough. David Lutkin also was in that original production of Ring of Fire on Broadway. And he's a remarkable artist, and I think, and I can probably speak for Morgan and Katie here, that we've all learned like maybe half of what we know from David Lutkin, because he's not only a remarkable and gifted artist, but he's also a really giving artist. So he wants to create opportunities for other artists. He wants to give you things that you aren't yet prepared to do. He wants to give you responsibilities that you have not yet earned. And it's a delightful trait in his personality. And so, after I did the show with him and Eric and a bunch of wonderful people that I'm dear friends with now in 2000, I want to say 8, I really fell in love with the idea of Ring of Fire, but I didn't love the way the show was kind of laid out to be a bit of a like vignette style programming of Johnny Cash songs, kind of one after the other, that aren't necessarily all that intertwined in what I kind of would find a meaningful narrative. But then, time passed and I did another version of the show, and Katie came and saw that show, and she was like, I think that there is more to be explored inside these songs. I think that there's something missing about Johnny Cash's story here, because we're not really understanding what kind of saved him from himself, which is obviously the thing that's so compelling. Other than his artistry and his intellect, the thing that's so compelling about Johnny Cash was that he just suffered from such strong demons. And how can we tell that same story with the same songs and use the same materials, but how can we kind of like lean into the thing that saved him, which is June Carter? Like, how can we define that a little more? And then I can turn it over to Katie, because she can tell you more about the process that we went from there to the production that we had.
Right. Well, there's Jason Edwards. He was a member of that original Broadway cast company, and he ended up writing a 5-person version of the show that he sanctioned with Richard Martin Jr., who wrote the original Ring of Fire. And so we ended up kind of embracing that 5-person version, and then trying to put as much focus as we could on the relationship of Johnny and June, obviously because we connect with that as performing artists who are married, but also we just thought that was something that the audience would connect to as well. We thought it was a really important part of Johnny's story, and we got to give June some credit.
Yeah.
So then it was just really fun in Houston to explore what that meant, and we had ideas about how to give the show more of a through line with their relationship at the heart of it, and then getting, we had Morgan there, and we had Eric, and then we had Marcy again, who's absolutely brilliant, and so everybody together can just kind of flesh out the story and all the characters so much better, and especially in that intimate space. I think when Jason Edwards reworked the script into a 5-person version, he based it on Johnny Cash's autobiography, his most recent autobiography before he passed. And so all of the dialogue in the show is taken from that autobiography. It's his own words, which makes it really intimate. And so doing it in an intimate space like you guys have in Houston,
it was amazing. And I'm so glad you got to shout out to Eric and Marcy. Marcy actually watched your show, and she sent us a lovely note, by the way. I don't know if she said what you.
I know.
It's a lovely note. So Marcy, even if you're watching now, we love you. We miss you. You're wonderful. Yes, that was Ring of Fire was an enormous hit for us. And then you guys did such a great job with it. Shout out to Clint Allen, who you worked with for the first time, and Seth and Lights, and just everything in that production came together. It was such a wonderful, wonderful moment.
And Joel Burkholder's sound design on that show also was amazing. Very, very good. Yeah.
2 more questions. At the end of the performance, Ben and Katie exchange gifts. Is there a little hope on his or her way? Thank you, Mrs. Barton, for asking.
You guys know, I texted my mother before this went live on opening night, and I was like, "Hey, just so you know, number one, we mentioned my brother a lot, which I just wanted to give her a heads up about my brother being a big part of the subject matter, and then also I was like, just remember, this is a work of fiction." I was like, that would be important to know at the end.
Well, it was. I have to tell you, it was the first time I heard when you sent it to me the week before it went up or whatever, and I heard it. I'm like, what? Wait, what? And as you recall, I do believe I wrote you. I said, oh, wait, it's not clear. Are you guys? What do you say at the end? It's not clear.
I sent a very similar text after I listened to it on opening night. And I got a response that was very much like, it's fiction. And I said, I don't trust you. And I still don't.
I mean, it's a conversation we have daily, and it just seemed, actually, it was Ben's idea to have the whole thing be a letter to our future child. It's true. I mean, we just bought this house and we're so happy. It's something we've wanted for a long time, but a big reason we have wanted to have a house is because we can't imagine, and obviously people do it and they do it very well, but for us personally, we can't imagine having a baby in an apartment building, with people slamming doors outside and waking it up from its nap and I just, like, for so many reasons, we just didn't feel like we were settled enough as long as we were, in a teeny tiny little apartment. So having a house and feeling a little more settled is like just another step in that direction, even though it is still fictional.
And I just want to interject and say that, like, it is a brilliant conceit for, like, how to format the show, because you found a way to bring the audience in a way that was organic, and, like Ken said earlier, it was intimate. It wasn't just like we're breaking the fourth wall just so that we can talk to, the listeners at home. Mm-hmm. It was, we are talking to somebody in the future that we care about very much. So I just think that was a really, really brilliant decision.
Thanks, Morgan. That's very kind.
I agree. And so, folks, we've come to the end of our time already. It just goes so fast, doesn't it? It just goes so fast. So we are so grateful that you spent this time with us. I am so grateful for these three amazing artists, for their work sharing it at Stages, but for their time to just come and talk and let you, our wonderful audience, get to know them better. Katie Barton Hope, Ben Hope, and Morgan Morse. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is your final chance. The streaming ends at 11:59 tonight. So if you haven't yet heard Holiday at the Hopes, you still have an opportunity. So head over to stageshouston.com and you can get your ticket and take a moment. Get that hot chocolate going, or Glühwein. We talked about, I've had a lot of Glühwein since this show. It's a wonderful way to open your heart to the holidays, and thank you guys so much for making it part of our holiday tradition. I also want to flag that 2 nights from now is our second holiday offering, Buttons Sleeping Beauty, a one-man outrageous, ridiculous COVID lockdown panto. So
amazing.
Got a little stuck in the long title there. Buttons Sleeping Beauty opening in 2 nights. Holiday at the Hopes finishing tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning in. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
I think we stay here, right?